everyone, and welcome back to another AWS Tech Talk with James. So in my last few videos, we've been talking a lot about AWS Control Tower and a lot of the controls that it has. So in the last video, we showed the proactive controls, and we also discussed the detective and preventive controls. So assigning controls to OUs or accounts is all very good, but how do you know what controls are actually assigned to those accounts or OUs? In Control Tower, unfortunately, it's a little bit difficult to find it because you go to all controls and it just lists them all. So it's very easy to get lost. If you go back to the dashboard, you can actually go to your organizational units, and then per organizational unit, you can actually click on production, and then you can actually see what is what's assigned here, but it's a bit cumbersome, unfortunately. So there are a couple of easier ways to be able to find out what AWS Control Tower controls are actually assigned to your OUs. The first one I'll show you is from the CLI. So you can actually fire up the CLI here, and you can actually run a command. Wait for it to load up. And you can actually use AWS Control Tower list enable controls, and then you need to supply the target. So the target you need to supply is actually the OU or the ARN of the OU. Whoops. There we go. Target identifier, and then in this case I'll put in the OU, or sorry, the ARN of my production OU. And there, it'll tell me, there you go, it gives me the ARNs of the controls that are actually assigned to that. So the CLI is a great way to be able to work out what controls are assigned to OU other than the dashboard. But what if you wanted to be able to look at, have a real time or get alerts or emails on when people are enabling or disabling controls to different OUs. So the way you can do that is you can actually set up an event in CloudWatch EventBridge. So if we go into CloudWatch, if we set up a event rule, so let's create a new rule. We'll call it Control Tower enable control. That's all good. We'll leave it all that. We'll go next. So we're not asking for a schedule, but we're asking for a pattern because we're going to ask it for look to a pattern in the logs. We'll go down here to event pattern. We'll use a custom pattern, and what we'll do is we'll actually give it. I'll put one in here. Okay, so this is the pattern it's looking for. So basically this event will look for logs where the detail and the event source is Control Tower and the event name is enable log. So that's what it's going to trigger on. The next, let's put a target service at the moment as SNS because we want it to alert us to something. SNS topic. And I've already got a topic set up called email alerts, which sends to my email address. So let's just do that and we'll go next. next. Okay, cool. And that's all sorted out now, so we'll go create rule. So now if we go into control tower, and if I set a control, so if I go to all controls, let's say I want to set EC2 control. Let's set this one, enable control, and I'll set it on my production account, production OU. Oh, no, that one's already on there, so let's try the development OU. There we go, so that is now deploying that control. So if we go into my email alerts, as you can see, it sent me an email from Amazon, and this is the JSON that has been sent from that event to say that has been enabled. Now, really, this is not overly readable. Obviously, it's the whole JSON event that happened. All we really care about is the control that was enabled and the OU that was enabled too. So what we can actually do is, rather than sending it straight to SNS, we can actually send it to Lambda to then transport the file, or to pull the information out that we want and then send it in a more readable format. So let's do that. So let's go to Lambda. And from here, we'll create a new Lambda function, and we'll call it control tower enable control. And we're going to use Python. So we'll go down here and we'll select Python. The rest of this can stay fine, and we'll go create function. All right, so this is now create our function. So what we want to do is we actually want to have the trigger as the EventBridge event that we were using earlier. So we'll go here and go CloudWatch, EventBridge. We're going to use an existing rule, so this will be the rule that we created earlier, and it was called control tower enable control. And as you can see, it's looking for the event source control tower, and it's looking for the event name enable control. So when that event comes in, it'll trigger the Lambda. So we'll go add that. And then what we're going to do is we'll go into code. We'll get rid of this. So what we want to do now is we want to be able to read the information we want out of that JSON. So if we have a look at, this is actually the JSON that gets passed back from that event. And as you can see, it talks about the version, all this stuff, and then it talks detail. And then it gives you all sorts of information about the account, the session context, all that. But then down here, what we want is the request parameters, and that gives us the control tower identifier. The target identifier, which is the OU, and then the control identifier, which is the control. So this gives us, the target identifier gives us the ARN of the OU, and then the control identifier gives us the ARN of the control that has been passed. So we don't really need all this information. All I want to know is when a control is enabled on OU, I just want to know what organizational unit it's been enabled on and what control it is. So this is what we're looking for. So basically, out of all this information, we need to get this event. So in order to do that, we come down here, and so it's going to pass us the event. And basically what we want to do, if I come down here, is we want to use this command. Okay, so we want to get out of the event, we want to look for the target identifier and the control identifier. And if you have a look in here, if I put these side by side, so remembering this is the JSON file that gets passed to Lambda from the EventBridge. And from there, we want the target to be our target identifier. And if you have a look up here, we're looking for details, so we want detail, and then we're going in and indexing. From detail, we want to go to request parameters, and then we want index into target identifier, which is the OU, and then the control, which is the control OU. So that's how we're getting this information, is we want to pass the JSON into the event, and then pull that target identifier and control identifier out of it, and that'll give us that information. So from there, we then want to be able to send that to an SNS topic to be able to send us an email whenever someone enables the control. So we'll go into, we'll also need Boto 3, so we'll go import Boto 3. So what we're going to do now is we want to then trigger this to an SNS topic. So we want SNS, and we want to go to Boto 3 .client, and then that's going to be SNS. And then we want to specify, we want to put in a variable for the ARN of the SNS topic. Now I've already got an SNS topic set up that sends to my email, as we demonstrated before. So I want to go SNS ARN, and then we'll go equals, and then we'll put in the ARN of my SNS topic, so that it knows where to send it to. And we need to put one of these in here. Cool. And then basically we then need to pass the actual, or tell it what the notification or what the message is that it's going to send. So the notification, we call it notification. The notification is going to be the output of these two. So basically we'll say, I'm going to copy and paste this in, notification equals, and we want to put a bit of wording around it. So we'll say notification equals control tower, control, and it's going to give us the ARN of the control, was enabled on, and then it's going to give us the OU that it was enabled on. So now we need to do a response to be able to send it to that SNS, and I'll copy this in. So this is saying that response equals SNS publish, so publish an SNS topic to the ARN, which is the ARN of the topic that I specified, and the message is notification. So that's all good. So let's deploy that. Okay, so now we've got our code all sorted. We want to check and make sure our permissions. So basically we're reading from an EventBridge CloudWatch event, which Lambda would have created our permissions for us. But we want to send the notification to an SNS topic. So we need to set up permissions to be able to send that. So if we go into configuration and go into permissions, we want to look at the role that's assigned to this Lambda. So let's have a look at this. All right, so this is the role that it created. So we want to add some permissions, and we'll attach a policy, and we'll say SNS. And for purposes of this demo, we will give it full access, but you would only give it push permissions. Cool. So now if we go back, that's done. So now if we go back to close this and go to the code, make sure it's deployed. So now if I go back to Control Tower, and if I go to look at the controls, and let's say EC2, so I'll sign another EC2. So let's say the one we worked with last time, which was limit network access. So let's assign that to, we'll go enable control, we'll put it on the production account. That's now enabling the control. What we can actually see here from our previous email is a little bit more human readable. So control tower control, and it gives you the ARN of the control was enabled on OU, and then it gives the ARN of the OU. This is a little bit easier to read, obviously, than the full JSON, but it also gives you the ability to be able to audit people who enable, or you can even set this up to audit disable on OUs, and you can also then get it to list all the OUs that, all the controls that are enabled on OU. So this is a great way to be able to audit when people enable or disable controls on your OUs, and be able to work out what's going on a little bit easier than trying to navigate through control panel. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the next one.